Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of ADD Sports. I'm guest hosting and appearing here, Skip. We got Alex and Danny Boy. This segment here, we're going to talk about tanking in light of some of the Miami Dolphins issues and the entire existence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're gonna talk a little bit about some of our thoughts on tanking, intentional or not, and how the NFL fans, players could kind of address
can't
some of this
forget
issue.
about Cleveland too.
That's true.
They
but
could have possibly been tanking.
That's true. But God, with that roster. Anyway, Danny Boy, what you got for me?
All right, so tanking. Definitely an interesting subject. A lot of times fans think that their team should tank for a better pick. But actually the number one reason why I'm against tanking is because it's not fair to a lot of fans. One data point that I had pulled was that the average price of a Philadelphia Eagles game last season was $127 per ticket. If a team is intentionally tanking, they might lose some of these hardcore fans forever because they're spending their hard-earned money. A lot of these fans probably only go to potentially one game a season because that's a lot of money, $127, especially for white-collar people. Another reason is it makes the players very uncomfortable because they're competitors and morally to get told that they need to tank, especially with the that football is such a heavy contact sport and with concussions and some pretty heavy injuries. To get told that you should just throw in the towel is just very insulting. Another reason is that it just drastically hurts the team's culture heading into the next few seasons. Even winning a few extra games can sort of make a team feel like, hey, we can do this. We're capable of winning some of these games, and a team that has no wins versus a team that has like 6 wins is significantly different in the terms of the culture heading into the following season. Another reason is if a coach tells his players to tank, it's going to be very hard for the players in the future to ever respect that coach. And basically everything he's going to say he's kind of look like a hypocrite, because it's going to be like, oh, you guys need to be working hard, eating right, lifting weights all the time, and then for him to say, oh guys, we're just going to throw in the towel mid-season because we want a higher draft pick that may or may not work. It just seems very hypocritical. And so yeah, those are my opinions of why teams really should never be tanking. That's what I have to say on the matter. Alex, what do you
Well, my take on tanking, is it worth it to tank for a better draft capital? It depends. I don't think it is, because yeah, sure, you might tank the season, get the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 or top 5 pick. You're not gonna know if that top 5 pick is gonna be a bust or he's gonna be the home run hitter for that team. So it's like you're swinging and missing if you're able to win that entire season, but you're purposely losing to get the better pick, and he ends up being a flop. Then you're kind of scrambling. And like you pointed out in some of your takes, I don't think it's worth it to tank, losing that locker room, the respect. Who knows if you do tank and you're trying to get another job in the NFL and you're known that you did tank that season, it might drop you down to maybe someone else getting that job over you. And you're not going to have that respect. You're not going to have the players week by week wanting to show it their all. You're just not going to have that respect factor. If tanking is actually happening in the NFL, there are a couple things you can do to eliminate it. Like, one way I'd say to fix it is by the draft. You can either take some cards from the NBA and do like the top 18 teams do some sort of draft lottery. That way it's fair for every team. And then figure out something in the later rounds, round 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. It'll be more interesting for the first round to be in that lottery. Or you can change the draft, whereas the best non-playoff team gets the number 1 pick, and then the worst team gets the 18th pick. That's my take on it. Where's your take on it?
Competition drives the sport. Did anybody think the Cincinnati Bengals would be in the Super Bowl at the start of the season?
Nope.
They came out of nowhere. They got a quarterback in there. They got some players in there. Joe Burrow said, "Give me my guy." They went and got Jamar Chase. They've got that chemistry. Where's Cooper Kupp? Where'd he come from? Can anybody tell me what college he went to? Some Central something, Sisters of the whatever, and middle wherever. You get guys that show up in different rounds. Who was the last quarterback? You'll know this. Who was the last quarterback that went number 1 overall that won a Super Bowl and made a profound impact on his team?
Probably Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning,
1
overall. Number 1 overall. Patrick Mahomes, deep. Josh Allen, not deep, but not number 1 overall. These guys that make these impacts, they come from anywhere in the draft. To tank puts your players at jeopardy. You're sending these guys out there to hit each other hard. It's a danger to their health. That being said, if you're going to tank, everybody needs to be on the same page. Owners paying a measly $100,000 to a coach. This guy's worth how many, millions, billions in Miami? If you're going to pay someone, pay him well. Let's just be frank. 100,000, come on now.
Yeah, and
Come
that's
on.
like Chubb
Come on. Let's be real.
for them. They're billionaires.
But you can't bring a guy in, Brian Flores, whomever. You can't bring a guy in and say, this is how we're going to do things. That needs to be determined before you come in. If that's how you want to run your team, you're the owner. Run your team like that. But you're going to develop a reputation, and it will be unpopular. You're going to piss fans off, paying money to come in. You're going to piss players off, telling them to go into NFL's. I don't like to compare it to war, but you're comparing these guys. You're telling them, go in there, give me everything you got, but don't go too hard. At the end of the day, tanking in theory is something I'd support. In theory. Why? You get these guys, you get theoretically better draft picks come in. They come in there, they make an impact, the teams elevate themselves and they get better. I'm a Bucks fan. It was painful for a lot of years, and there's a very good chance that it could get painful again soon here. But to tank and elevate your team with good draft picks is great in theory, but I think it's too much of a danger to the sport. I can't stand watching teams in the NBA that do it, and they know with the lottery how dangerous. You might not get the first pick, but at the end of the day, are you picking a LeBron James or are you picking Gordon Hayward, who had an impact for a couple of years and he's gone. You just don't know. But LeBron and Carmelo, a 1-2 punch like that. Who had the better career? It's a risky game to play, tanking. In theory, it works well, but in practicality, I think it's not good for the sport across the board.
Not gonna be you're not gonna know what these draft picks. I'm surprised the Jamar Chase pick kind of panned out for the Bengals getting the guy, because we saw it last year with Las Vegas when John Gruden wanted to go out and draft Clelin Ferrell from Clemson. He drafted him, 5th, 6th
Early.
overall pick in that draft, and I think he'd be probably at best a 3rd or 4th rounder.
I think they have one guy on an active roster from that entire draft. Yeah.
So drafting is a complete hit or miss with the top guys, so that's why I don't think tanking is beneficial to the sport.
Dave, what's your take on this one?
I mean, I think given the situation, if my team's 1-10 and there's a couple other teams that are 2-9, 1-10, somewhere there, and the one thing my team lacks is a quarterback, and there happens to be a projected number 1 overall pick quarterback this year, I think it's very well to say, let's just, we will try to win, but let's not let our win total surpass one of these other teams, because let's get that first pick. I think given that situation, I don't see an issue with tanking and tell these players, like, you know, do you guys want this guy on your team? Like, let's just, you know, give it our best effort for 55 minutes or so and, you know, let it play out. Who's going to know the difference? But, I mean, in the situation with Brian Flores, now if the owner came to me and offered me $100,000 a game to tank, I would be highly insulted. And I could see how I would think it's pretty racist to only offer me $100,000 when you're a billionaire. Like, oh, $100,000, you're already getting paid 20 times that amount, but I'm going to act like you must somehow think this is a lot of money. You know, that's pretty insulting. There's no way I'd be tanking for $100,000. I would need a guarantee that I'm not going to get fired for having a terrible season if I'm tanking to get a good quarterback. Like, if I was Zach Taylor and the Bengals, you know, told me, like, hey, tank the rest of this year to get that number 1 overall pick for Burrow, and, like, your job is safe, and I know my job's safe and I'm getting Joe Burrow, all right, I don't have any issue with tanking then. But, I mean, if there's no one coming out of the draft class and we've got 4 first-round picks already or something, then no, I'm not going to tank, and especially not for a horrible offer like $100,000 a game. It's not like there's 82 games like in basketball. There's 17 games. I mean, you don't want to lose them all and be in the history books for going winless. So, in that regard, no, but I think given the circumstances, I don't see anything wrong with tanking. I mean, if you're already losing, the fans aren't going to be any more pissed at you for going 1-16 that they are for 2-15.
But don't you think if your coach comes up to you and tells you to tank, don't you think the players might lose his respect, or he might lose their respect, or lose to the locker room?
I don't think you even have to tell them. I think if you're already in that position where you're losing, your team's pretty bad anyway. You just give it a few bad play calls somewhere in the game, and you might be all right. You know, like, look, the Colts came out there that one game with that whatever 4th down fake formation where they have Pat McAfee lined up under center and a bunch of guys over here, and no one can still figure out to this day what that was. So throw something like that out there. And
I think he had a show that explained what that play was.
he did, but it still didn't really explain it.
So, Dave, that would be your strategy if you were tasked with tanking. You just open up secret playbook.
We're 1-14. We're 1-14. The other team that was 2-13 just lost and fell to 2-14, and I'm up 27-23 with 2 minutes left, and it's like, you know, kind of getting in field goal range. We're running the ball well. I'm going to call that, you know, shotgun passing play that just never worked in practice, and you know, had them move the tight end that's blocking, you know, giving the extra help on their best pass rusher over to the other side, and, you know, have the quarterback take a nice little sack fumble or something, or back it up and then go attempt the extra long field goal that I know we're not going to make and give the other team a chance. Maybe call the all-out blitz like a few teams did against, you know, an obvious, you know, passing play where you got 4 guys, 5 guys wide, and it just was a complete failure. Maybe something like that. Make sure that you still get that number 1 overall pick.
But as a competitor with all these teammates, don't you think you'd want to compete every down to the final tick of the clock?
Well, you're still competing each time I call these
Yeah,
plays.
but you're going to compete to lose.
Ah,
They're trying to win.
Well, look, if they still put up good protection, if they get someone open, the quarterback sees the guy that's open and makes the right play, then nothing wrong with these play calls whatsoever. But
What do you think? How do you think a player would feel if he gets badly injured on a play call that's the triple lateral reverse field fadeaway pass?
he's badly injured on any play you call, no matter what the circumstances are.
I mean, if I were that bad, I'll just call a simple play. Why do you have triple lateral?
Maybe I'll give them $100,000 after the game.
You'll be cheap paying them the $100,000.
But I don't know. I like I said, circumstantial. But you know, I don't have a major issue with it. Is all I'm saying in the end. But I get where you guys are coming from.
All right, so that'll wrap up this segment on ADD Sports. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share our channel, and we look forward to seeing you in the next segment. Have a good night, guys.
Like and subscribe.